I refuse to bail out my daughter after another failed business, but then she's evicted. She plays the victim until I discover it was all a lie. Hey there guys, Zara here, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Tea Time with Zara. I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. Hey everyone, I'm in a really tough spot right now and could use some advice. I'm 48 years old, and my daughter Sophia, who is 22, and I have always been close. We even have a joint savings account that we've both contributed to over the years, meant to be for emergencies or big life events. But recently, I noticed a large sum of money was missing from the account. I was shocked and couldn't understand how it happened. When I asked Sophia about it, she just gave me this charming smile and assured me she hadn't taken any money. She's always been good at talking her way out of situations, but something didn't sit right with me. I mean, she's my daughter, and I want to trust her, but the numbers just weren't adding up. So, I started paying more attention to her lifestyle. It was hard not to notice the brand new designer clothes she was wearing and how she seemed to be going out every other night. I tried not to jump to conclusions, but it was getting harder to ignore. Then she threw this massive party at her place. I went, trying to keep an open mind, but it was impossible not to see how much money she was throwing around. The food, the decorations, the music, it was all top-notch and expensive. During the party, one of her friends, probably after having a bit too much to drink, mentioned this amazing trip they'd just come back from, a trip that Sophia had paid for. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I left the party early. I just couldn't take it. That night, I broke down. I felt so betrayed and hurt. I didn't know what to do or who to turn to. The next day, I ended up spilling everything to my friend Linda over coffee. She tried to comfort me, suggesting that maybe Sophia was just going through a rebellious phase or something. I wanted to believe that, but it was getting harder to ignore the facts. Sophia's behavior continued to be distant and neglectful. She started missing family dinners, and when I tried to talk to her, she'd just ignore my calls or messages. It was like she was a completely different person. I decided I needed to face this head-on and went to her apartment to talk to her. But when I got there, the place was empty. There was an overdue rent notice pinned to the door. My heart sank. Then, I saw a pawn ticket among a pile of her mail on the floor. It hit me that she might be selling off our family heirlooms for cash. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing my daughter, and I can't stop thinking about where it all went wrong. How do I get through to her? How do we fix this? Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1. You won't believe the mess my daughter's gotten herself into now. So, after that whole fiasco with the missing money and the party, things just went from bad to worse. I couldn't shake the feeling that Sophia was hiding something from me. So I decided to follow up on that pawn ticket I found in her apartment. It led me to this dingy little pawn shop on the edge of town, and my heart just sank when I saw it. There, in a glass case, was the family necklace my grandmother had passed down to us. It was one of our most cherished heirlooms, and Sophia had pawned it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I bought the necklace back, of course. It cost me more than I'd like to admit, but there was no way I was leaving it there. I didn't tell Sophia what I'd done. I didn't want to start another fight, and honestly, I was scared of how she'd react. I just couldn't understand why she'd do something like this. Meanwhile, Sophia was acting like nothing was wrong. She was still the life of the party, always smiling, always laughing. But I started hearing stories from people around town about how she was borrowing money left and right, making big promises about paying everyone back soon. It was like she was living in her own little world where consequences didn't exist. Then, one day, I ran into an old friend who mentioned seeing Sophia at some high-stakes poker game. Gambling? That was the last thing I expected. I didn't even know she was interested in that sort of thing. It was like every day I was learning about a new side of my daughter that I didn't recognize. At the next family dinner, I tried to bring up the topic of being careful with money, hoping Sophia would take the hint. But she just brushed it off and changed the subject. It was like talking to a brick wall. Not long after, I got a call from Sophia, all upset because her car had been repossessed. She spun this wild story about being a victim of fraud and how it wasn't her fault. I wanted to believe her, but after everything that had happened, I just couldn't. Still, she was my daughter, and I couldn't turn her away. I agreed to help her out, but I told her this was the last time, and she had to follow some strict rules if she wanted my support. She agreed, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. Then, out of the blue, all of Sophia's debts were paid off by some mysterious benefactor. She came strutting into my house, bragging about how she was free from all her troubles and didn't need my help after all. It was like a slap in the face. I felt so used. That was the last straw for me. I decided right then and there that I was done bailing her out. I told her she was on her own from now on. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I couldn't let this go on. I love my daughter, but I can't support her self-destructive behavior. She's got to learn to stand on her own 2 feet, and I just hope she realizes that before it's too late. Update 2. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to get this off my chest. Months have flown by, and word on the street is that Sophia, my daughter, has started a new business venture. I was taken aback when she reached out to me, inviting me to the grand opening of her boutique. She claimed she had changed, that she had turned over a new leaf. I wanted to believe her, I really did. So I went to the launch. The place was buzzing with excitement, and there was Sophia in the center of it all, her charm working its magic on investors and customers. She was the star of the show, and everyone seemed to be eating it up. She introduced me to her business partner, Marco, a guy who was all smooth talk and flashy smiles. But something about him didn't sit right with me. When I asked about his past business ventures, he was vague and dodged the question with a joke. Red flags went up in my mind. Later, as I wandered around the boutique, I overheard a tense conversation between Sophia and Marco. They were talking about keeping up appearances, and it sounded like they were hiding something. It didn't feel right. Despite this, the boutique was getting attention, even a glowing review in a local magazine. Sophia's success seemed to be skyrocketing, but I couldn't shake off my doubts. One day, she showed me the financial reports of the boutique, beaming with pride. But as I looked closer, things didn't add up. There were discrepancies that made no sense, and I started to worry that this was all just a facade. My fears seemed to be confirmed when I noticed Sophia slipping back into her old ways, neglecting the boutique and leaving Marco to deal with everything. The final straw came when one of Sophia's investors approached me. They were upset and revealed that Marco had a history of fraudulent business deals. My heart sank. I had hoped Sophia had changed, but now I was afraid she was caught up in something dangerous. I'm not sure what to do next. I want to protect Sophia, but I also don't want to see her fall back into bad habits. It's a mess, and I'm right in the middle of it. I just hope we can find a way out of this together. Update 3. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to get this off my chest. I decided to confront Marco about the boutique's financial inconsistencies. I was expecting a showdown, but he was slick, brushing off my concerns with a smile and a pat on the back, assuring me everything was above board. It was infuriating how he could just stand there and lie so smoothly. Sophia, she's been acting weird lately. The stress is getting to her, and her usual charm isn't holding up. I've seen her snap at employees, which is totally unlike her. I knew something was up, so I sat her down for a heart-to-heart. It took some prodding, but she finally spilled the beans. She admitted she was in way over her head with Marco and the business. She didn't know how to get out from under his thumb. I couldn't just watch my daughter suffer, so I offered to help her sort out the mess. We started going through the boutique's books together. It was a mess of numbers that didn't add up and missing funds. Sophia was scared to confront Marco, though. She knew he was shady, but felt trapped. Marco must have sensed we were onto him because he started playing dirty. He tried to tell Sophia I was trying to take over the business, that I didn't trust her to handle it. It was a low blow, and for a moment, Sophia was actually doubting me. But she's my daughter, and deep down, she knew I had her best interests at heart. She chose to trust me over him, and I was relieved. We decided it was time to face Marco together. We demanded he show us the real financials and threatened to end our partnership with him if he didn't come clean. That's when the bomb dropped. Marco confessed he'd been funneling money out of the boutique for months, but before we could even process this or take action, he vanished. Just like that, he was gone, and we were left to clean up his mess. Now, Sophia and I are scrambling to set things right. We're working day and night to document everything and figure out our next steps. It's going to be a long road ahead, but we're in this together. Last update, thank you for all the advice. So here's what's been going on. After everything that happened with Marco and the boutique, my daughter Sophia and I have been working nonstop to get things back on track. It's been a crazy time, but we've been repaying the debts and talking to the investors, trying to rebuild the trust that was lost. It's been tough, but the boutique is finally starting to make a profit again. What's really amazing is seeing how dedicated Sophia has become. She's been at the boutique every day, working hard to make sure everything is running smoothly. It's like she's a completely different person. This whole mess has really brought us closer together, and I can see now that she's genuinely sorry for everything that happened in the past. She's even said as much, admitting that she needed my strength and will to get through this. It's been a long road, but I've forgiven her. We've started to rebuild our relationship, and it's based on mutual respect and understanding now, which feels so much healthier. We recently held a charity event at the boutique, and it was a huge success. Sophia decided to donate a significant portion of the proceeds to a local financial literacy program, which I thought was a fantastic idea given everything we've been through. Watching her at the event, using her charm to engage with the community and raise awareness for a good cause, made me so proud. She's really turned things around. At the end of the event, Sophia made a public announcement, giving me credit for the turnaround and the boutique's success. It was a really touching moment, and I could see that she meant every word. But the biggest surprise of the night came just as things were winding down. This well-dressed stranger came up to me and started praising me for how well Sophia has transformed. I was a little taken aback at first, but then he revealed that he was the anonymous benefactor who had paid off Sophia's debts. He said he admired our family's resilience and how we handled the situation. It was a lot to take in, and I'm still processing it all. But it feels like we're finally moving in the right direction, and I'm hopeful for what the future holds for both the boutique and our family.